Hello and welcome to episode 335 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. I'm Vince Hunt, creator of the Instagram comic Black, and joining me as always is the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And the writer and brainchild trust, whatever voodoo that you do, Tony, but it is the man behind Atomic Hercules and George Mayhem, Mr. Tony Esmond.
Yeah, baby.
Tony's in a rather joyful mood.
I am. I'm quite cheerful today. I've had a good weekend.
Yes, it's been a lovely weekend. And
I'm a bit rockabilly as well. Did you say I got a bit of a bowling shirt on?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Is that rockabilly, a bowling shirt?
Is where I wear it. Oh. I don't know.
I think you could make the argument for that.
Yeah, I think so. Are you a greaser, Tony?
Don't fuck with the Baldies. Is that the Wanderers?
That is the Wanderers.
Yeah, that's
yeah. When were we last? I felt like we was discussing this only recently.
We were talking about this. Was it during Thought Bubble Weekend or was it just before last week's show? I can't remember. Who knows? Time flies. But thank you for joining us this week, folks. For another, it's just the three amigos. We're just going to talk about some comic stuff. We're going to talk about some conventions, crowdfunding, a few books. We picked out a few things.
It's Recommend-a-Palooza.
Yeah.
We had to
Palooza.
try to get through some of the readings.
Yeah, it's not like a mega palooza like we've done in the past.
No.
It's not that time I did 6 in a minute. Do you remember that one?
That's pretty that's a lot.
Yeah. Recommend it, of course.
Even I'm not that good.
Fuck me, yeah.
You know who is that good, though?
Is it Comic House?
It's Comic House, our lovely sponsor.
Yeah.
Yes, they keep the lights on this show. Although I've only got one light on at the moment. I like a bit of moody light.
Oh, I forgot to thank you for the books, you two. Thank you.
We'll get onto that. Well, you don't
yes.
Thanks, guys.
It's not.
I don't want to interrupt your
You've gone in the sun. You've gone in the sun again,
no.
so it doesn't matter. But yes, thank you to. But what do we get him? Ooh, stay tuned to find out.
Yeah.
But before then, we'd like to thank Comic House, who sponsor this show. They're an indie comic marketplace that loves comics as much as we do, and they're very, very passionate about it, and we can tell you that for certain because we had a pint with Pete from Comic House.
We're very close to them
during football weekend. That's quite cool.
We did.
If you don't know about Comic House, if you go to comichouse.com, you can see there's a huge selection of titles on the Comic House database. If you self-publish yourself, you can list your book on there. Start selling straight away. You can also upload. It's because we record on a Sunday. Upload.
It's the German.
Loud and proud.
But yes, you can upload your digital books to the Comic House app. It's brilliant. It's basically a Netflix for comics subscription service. £3 a month. You get access to an enormous library of digital indie comics that's being added to all the time. Seriously, these guys just want as many people as they can to experience and discover digital comics, which is brilliant, and digital indie comics as well. Don't worry about that big two stuff. All the good stuff's happening in the indies. It's being added to all the time. What's on there at the moment, Dan?
There's a whole slew of new titles, actually. One from the enigmatic Frank the Writer. And he's uploaded several titles. The Polar Paradox, issue 1 and 2. Got the Macabre Motel, issue 1. The Last Homicide 1. Pipe Creepers 1, which sounds a bit weird. Empty. And we've also got SCI, Superhuman Crime Investigators, volume 2. And Sins of Prey, issue 1. And the fantastic The Cosplayer That Doomed the Earth, issue 3. By Dan Harris, who's going to be being mentioned in the shout-outs later for the Kickstarters, because he's got an epic Kickstarter running.
Storming it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, Frank the Writer has not uploaded any artwork for any of these titles and no synopsises, so I can't tell you what they're about.
But hang on, how do you know that there's comics there?
Well, if you go to the Comic House website, you can see the new comics added to the site. And I've got the title, I've got what it is, who it's by, but no synopsis and no cover art. Which, come on, Frank.
Come on, Frank the Writer.
Yeah. We want to tell people about your books.
If he's Frank the Writer, does that mean his initials are FTW?
Oh,
yeah, for the win.
Yeah.
Or fuck the world.
I mean,
we like to be a bit more positive, Tony. Yeah. Come on.
Frank T. Wells, isn't there? There's a movie called Frank T. Wells, and that's called FTW, isn't it? And that means fuck the world.
I'm sure everyone's in on Pipe Creepers 1, because that sounds great. But, well, you know what I mean? Come on, Frank.
Yeah, let's find out what it's about, Frank the World.
sort it out, Frank, so that all the people that check out that check out Comic House from this very ad,
he's had a few mentions there for free, isn't he?
We'll be able to check out your books, and they all want to because our listeners are amazing and lovely, and they seek out new work all the time. So go forth, So plus, if you don't have Comic House yourself, there's a 14-day free trial. You dive headfirst into this world of comics that we talk about every week, and to begin the journey, you just got to go to comichouse.com.
I don't want to be saying FFSFTW next week. So
well, I don't think you'd be able to, Dan. You sounded like you had to think about that while you were saying it just then.
Well, I had to abbreviate for fuck's sake, Frank the writer. FFS.
FDS.
Oh dear.
That's coming from the goat.
God, Jesus.
Any more acronyms you want to work in, chaps?
The Coalition for the Liberation of Itinerant Tree Dwellers.
My brain's gone AWOL. Right. Anyway, this week, as we were saying, Tony's been a busy little boy, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been a good weekend actually.
Yeah. And your festivities are just around the corner as well, aren't they?
Yeah, so the boys kindly sent me some presents. Arrived today, or arrived yesterday, or Friday and today. So I got Enigma, the hard cover by Pete Milligan and Duncan Fagredo, with colours by Van Valkenburg, and it is fucking lovely. It's like it was a Vertigo book that people had never read it before, and it's now the definitive edition with Dark Horse, so that it's obviously been creator owned by Vertigo. And it's got fucking loads of reference and art and stuff in the back. I think it's been recoloured. There's a couple of essays in there, origins of it, and old photographs. There's a lovely old photograph of Duncan here, I can see, which is quite hilarious. And it's a hell of a book. I've always thought this is a hell of a book. I had the issues, and then I got the trade signed by Pete Milligan. But this is now the one that's going to be on the shelf. It's lovely, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Gorgeous white cover with a sort of purple. If you briefly looked at it, you'd think it was art by Trakhanoff. There's a bit of that about it. Somehow it's not.
I can see that.
It's Fagredo, but it's absolutely lovely. And from Mr. Vincenzo, who did it? What name did you use when you sent it to me? Vince the Boar's Hunt or something like that, wasn't it? Or
I can't remember.
Crazy, yeah.
I can't remember now.
Which I admire you for. But it's Roy Thomas, Barbarian Life, a literary biography of Conan the Barbarian, and this is about the early comics of Conan the Barbarian. And it's a sort of textbook with a lot of illustration, and they include a lot of the covers. And it's all about Roy Thomas's work on Conan, which is obviously definitive. And, he started it when he hit Marvel at the start of the Bronze Age. In fact, Conan the Barbarian 1 is the start of the Bronze Age by many people's reckoning. And doesn't
he go through it like story by story or something like
that? Yeah, he does, yeah.
His whole
you go through. So issue 21, The Monsters and Monoliths, is very contributed. Lovely detailed splash page to establish the CW. Yeah, it's proper in detail. It's absolutely lovely.
It's almost like a director's commentary for what a classic comic run, isn't it? Sort of thing.
Yeah. And by Roy, who's great. House Roy, but he's great. And I loved his Conan stuff, and he wrote it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Really.
And
good.
there's a few volumes of that as well. I think.
Are they already out? Are they?
I think they're 3 volumes. Yeah, I think the third one.
Okay.
Nice one.
So once you finish that one, you can continue.
Yeah, it's by Pulp Hero Press, and you don't need to import it because it's I think it's Amazon print on demand, so you get it sent to you. You don't have to pay.
Oh, fantastic!
Huge import export costs and then all that sort of thing. But yeah, absolutely lovely. Both of them going in my bag for this week to read when I'm not working.
Lovely. Yeah.
Good.
What else went in your bag? The other thing that went in your magic bag? He's not from Tots TV or Mary Poppins. Tony has a bag.
My knob is glowing. That's bed knobs and broomsticks, isn't it?
Yeah. I was about to say that was from neither of the references I just made. But yeah, you actually you went to something that was very near and dear to your heart, didn't you? What was it called again?
It's called Dark Fest, which is it's not a comic convention. We should make it clear, and the reason we're only mentioning it is to compare it to comic conventions. But I'm a bit of a fan of like really shady horror movies, and I went with our buddy Jason Wilson, and had an absolute fucking ball. So it's in the Genesis Cinema, which is kind of a cool cinema in Mile End Road. It's where they had the Twin Peaks Festival a few years ago and that sort of thing. So it's quite a cool little local East End cinema. But at it were a variety of people. But I mainly went for a number of reasons. But I mainly went to meet Ruggero Deodato, who's the director of Cannibal Holocaust, amongst other films, which is famous and, let's face it, probably infamous for a number of reasons. And also Carolyn Monroe and a lady called Zora Kenova, who's for anyone who's seen the New York Ripper, she's the prostitute in that. She's the woman who gets the hooks through her breasts in Cannibal Ferox. She's quite well known sort of genre thing. But the reason I'm talking about it, it was, you know, we hear all these bad stories, don't we, about people, what is called now generically BarCon, you know, where people go to bars after conventions. This was set in a bar with tables and, you know, autographs and photographs of people and DVD collections and magazines and, you know, film brochures and all this sort of thing in a bar and in a cinema. And obviously throughout the day they showed movies, and I watched a couple of movies. I watched The New York Ripper, actually, the uncut version of that, which is great to see on the big screen. But there wasn't a hint of any problems, like none, because everyone was an adult. And I can tell you, we had our first drink at 11:30. So there's a lot of beer being drunk, you know, and by at least 2:00, certain beers were running out.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Going at it then. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was also, now comics should pay attention to this, because it's like a boozy convention like we used to have, you know, and like still exists, but everyone acted like an adult. No one got in any trouble. No one caused any trouble. And there were some people there who were like drunk as lords. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely drunk as lords. And no one was, it was the fucking, and do you know what? No egos as well. So you'd be standing at the bar, chatting to someone you just got an autograph off, chatting to someone who's a movie writer, or he's got a movie up to show, or is, you know, a journalist for, you know, Dark Side magazine, or, you know, all sorts of things. And there was me and Jason went to lunch with someone. I didn't even know the dude. He was just this right guy that Jason knew. And he was the super nicest bloke. Big shout out to Jasper Wilson, by the way. Jasper Sharp, pardon me. But the like Graham Humphreys. Do you know Graham Humphreys? He does a lot of movie posters and stuff.
Yeah, rings a bell.
He's been on Home Into That, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a big deal. But he was like going around getting autographs of people who are in sort of B-movie Hammer movies and stuff, you know, and drinking at the bar with us. And it was the nicest thing. I think if comics got a bit more like that, I think we'd all be a lot happier.
Yeah, because you can't put every comic creator like, oh, they're very standoffish, but I do get an impression from a few of them.
Yeah.
One of the massive exceptions, we want to name, didn't we?
Martin Simmons.
Yeah, he's an absolute
completely.
ledge.
Yeah, that's what he's. Yeah, he's he's too important to talk to us, but he still does. You know what I mean? Which is nice. Yeah. But no, I mean, Carolyn Monroe is at the bar, and, you know, Ruggero Deodato is at the bar, and I know they're not perhaps the hugest names anymore, but, you know, they got a big fan base, and they, you know, and
they're just there talking to people and getting on, and like, because they recognise, like, you got to take care of your fan base, and there's not the kind of the hostile toxicity. That's kind of, I know that's complained about, but I feel like that it's perpetuated as well, but a different way.
Yeah.
It's an odd one.
I mean, yeah, it's been certainly interesting times for comics and certainly the community and everything in general over the past 12, 18, 24 months, you know, the way it's been going over the past couple of years and stuff. And certainly, you know, we've felt it, or we've sometimes it's just tiring, isn't it? Because you just want to be like positive about comics and stuff, and every week something's happened. So I, you know, but there's a lot to be said about the small events that are just there just to have fun.
Isn't that the reason, mate? Do you know what I mean?
Do you think we'll see an uptake in smaller little events like this? I mean, with comics as well, you know, how well can it? I hate to be the guy that's asking the devil's advocate questions, but how well does a smaller event like this work for comics, for indie comics? Because I know, Tony, you and I, we at Cardiff, we had the comic and zine sort of like thing in Cardiff, and that was good fun. I know you weren't very well that day.
I stuck it out for a bit, man.
Yeah,
I was there
but that was very much there was a nice atmosphere there.
Yeah, there was.
Because
I think that's the way we got to go. I think without the sort of backing of huge comic conventions, you used to have the backing. Marvel would have a table, and DC would turn up, and the editors from Vertigo would wander around. And I don't think we're getting that anymore. So we've got it's got to be community based to get the fans in.
Yeah, if we're doing like the small press thing, I don't think we should be paying big prices.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're paying all this money for big stars to be there, but they're not really.
That is a pain, isn't it? So the ticket prices and the table prices, which we're paying through the wrist for, are paying for these guests to turn up who just sit behind the table in the most part with us look like they've got a smack face,
But they're sitting there earning. I'm not going to take away them like turning up to earn money, and that's what the reason they're there for. But it's kind of like play the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they ask these people to be guests for a reason because they're a draw.
Yeah.
It'd be the only reason. And to be a draw, if you're if you've got that name, Dave Gibbons who goes around and chats to people and stuff, then I'm going to go because Dave Gibbons is there. Yeah. But if I'm, if your name's, let's pick a name out of the blue. If your name's Hamish and you just sit behind a table with a face like a fucking slapped arse and don't speak to anyone, then I'm not going to go for you, am I?
No. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because it's so easy to turn someone off of your work. But we got to have and maybe there's a different things about it, but like for me, if I have a bad opinion of an author or a creator, that for me colors their work.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'm not sort of like someone saying, oh, so-and-so's this online. I'm talking about if I have a direct interaction with a creator or an artist and they say something or do something I find off color, it really puts a ding in my appreciation of what they put out.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah,
but if someone's nice to me, alternatively, I will stick by them.
Doubles it. Yeah, it grows exponentially.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said. I mean, conventions are certainly, obviously, as we speak, with the global bastard being what it is, we don't know, what things are going to be like over the next 12 months or whatever. So hopefully some events that we love are on pause at the moment.
Yeah.
Certainly for 2022. How many will there be at the end of the year? And we're certainly right now. The conversation is not about something like MCM because that's a big pop culture thing, and for the most part, it's just get the numbers in, and it's less personal. Whereas a lot of the conventions.
Oh no, you're right. The big draw to MCM is the fact that fucking some dude who's in a Marvel TV series is going to be there.
Yeah. But of course, we're all about like getting people in to see the books and seeing the art, the artwork, and all this hard work that everyone puts in. Do you think there's something to be said for scaling back?
Yes.
Because obviously we're at Thought Bubble. We had a great time at Thought Bubble. We did all right as well, didn't we? We had a nice weekend. But Thought Bubble, it's almost like you're spoilt for choice as well. Like three massive.
You're never going to pay your costs.
Yeah.
We're somebody like us certainly ain't.
Yeah.
The hotel fees,
all those drugs.
Yeah.
But
like you said, there's like so much on display. Like you're kind of like bloody hell. There's so much small press comics here that it's hard to stand out because there's just so much.
It's such an interesting thing because obviously, if you had asked me 10 years ago, 3 enormous rooms full of like completely independent creators, that's the dream. That just sounds like gold. Do you know what I mean? It just sounds like this is amazing.
Is it the dream for you, dude? Is that what you want out of convention? That's interesting you say that. I'm not picking up fire or anything. I'm just thinking, is that what you want?
Yeah, I don't go for names. I don't do it. I go to, and it's always been the way with me. I go to try and discover things, and through the show, it's become also, getting to know creators and catching up with them, and I must have seemed like a right miserable bastard to some of the people I know that were at Thought Bubble as well, because I just had to keep my head down. Otherwise, if I was away from the table, I probably never would have seen Tony or Dan, because you just would have got caught up, wouldn't you, in a conversation left, right, centre. You have to be. Yeah.
Well, let's share that question then. What do you go to a convention for, Dan? What's your sort of intent?
Mine's like Vince, to see like small press creators, but also to kind of like see the bigger guys, and also like just the comic. I want comics.
Yeah,
like back issue comics and stuff like that. I don't just want.
That's also on top of mine. A because I'm in agreement with this. When I say like independent creators and stuff, it's always comics. I want to discover comics or graphic novels or whatever. You know, I want to discover something amazing that I didn't know before that show. That's why.
Yeah, I think am I the only person here who's gone to Thought Bubble as a punter?
I've only been once, and that was tabling.
Yeah. I always wanted to, but never got around to doing it.
Yeah, I went 5 times as a punter.
Wow. Okay.
Before I tabled for No Brown, then tabled with us. Now, I went there to get books signed by the big names. I think back in the early days of Thought Bubble, there were more.
Yeah.
You know, more mainstream creators, and also to buy back issues.
I will say that I do love. I love a bargain, me. But you know, as well as like discovering the independent stuff, I like to see a stand with lots of like trades or something like that I can just
or old like
comics,
British comics, and old Star Blazers, and
there's nothing more. I mean, a comic mart is a massive indication of it. There's nothing more fun than just like, don't talk to me for the next 15 minutes because I'm going through this long box. Thank you very much. And then just doing that. You know, I love all of that as well. But in answer to your one, Tony, obviously I've never been to a convention, nor have I ever really been interested in getting anything signed.
It's more buying original art and sketches, I suppose.
I've never. You know. It's only recently that I've ever been able to even contemplate getting a bit of original art. You know, that has never been on my table because it was like, I can't afford it. I love looking at it. I love looking through the. I mean, one of the highlights of Thought Bubble was going through the portfolio of Gustavo Vargas.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Dude, just supernatural. But that's by the by. I've always, you know, I don't know. With me, I've never wanted to get anything.
Well, that's interesting because I know I met you through you tabling, so I don't really know what your previous experience, or either you, I suppose, is of. I know Dan a bit because we were at the same UCAC. But what conventions did you guys go to as punters before you started tabling?
I never really had any conventions near me.
Right.
I was small town boy, middle of nowhere.
Well, you had Bristol though, man, didn't you? Bristol.
But that wasn't easy for me to get to. I went to it I went to it once when I was younger, and that was because my brother gave me a lift there. It was a whole big day trip, and it was the first time I'd ever spent more than a few pounds on a comic, and I spent £10. £10 on issue 1 of Body Bags to complete my 4-issue limited run.
Nice.
Yeah. How much is that now?
But I was over the moon. Do you know what I mean? And that was one of those.
Yeah.
That was. But then again, I went in there that same weekend.
Who was there then? Can you remember?
I discovered
what year
the Dave Hitchcock. He had like the Spring Hill Jack stuff, and you know that was. He had some comics that were sort of done on old sort of newsprint. Like
it's not that long. That's what 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was longer than that. I think.
Yeah, okay.
It was longer, it was longer than that, I think. But yeah, and in those sort of, it was strange. I was just, because there was no comics really anywhere for me. This was like a small little, oh wow, there's comics everywhere. You know, there's people making comics. Oh, they got like these back issue boxes. I've never, you know, apart from like, there was one little comic shop in the middle of nowhere. I cannot stress this enough. Comics were not really available to me for a lot of my life.
Yeah, fair play.
What about you, D?
Apart from the newsagent.
Yeah, that's it. Well, at least we had them then. What about you, D? What was?
I've been to Bristol twice. God, that was years and years ago. I've done 2 UCACs. There was another Comic Con I went to.
You go to Birmingham.
No, it wasn't. It was south of the water. I mean, I've been to years ago. Went to MCM as a kind of tabler, but I didn't really do much of the tabling involved.
Yeah,
I was kind of just there on the table for a bit. But
what did you go and look for? What did you look for when you were a punter? Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, honestly, when I was a lot younger, I was in a bit of a sort of different. That was like my early 20s, so I was in a completely different frame of mind. I mean, even before then, when we went to UCAC, that was when like. I think it must have been about time just before Image had kind of kicked off, or it already happened. I can't recall. It might have been because Stan, like all
I can't remember. It was when Stan was in. We were both in the audience, weren't we? Yeah.
The 2099 stuff was that after Image?
I'm blanking, man. I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
Was it like 92 or something like that? It was around the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely near that time because like me and my sort of friends, we were like fucking all over Reign of Superman, Image, just
92,
everything.
92 was...
92.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, and then
So
we
Wikipedia
were just fucking...
says, and you can trust that.
we were eating up everything at the con. Like, we just wanted everything, like art, comics, just couldn't get enough of everything. That was that time when if you got a superhero film and it was shit, you just like, great, we've got a superhero film.
Yeah, got the Punisher or Howard the Duck or something. Yeah.
But also, like, in those times, I mean, how did you find out about these conventions? Because I had no way of knowing that these things were happening. No way.
No, it was literally my mate's dad. Like,
yeah.
You go around my mate's house. I go around my mate Adam was around his house, and his dad said, "There's a big comic thing in London, like weekends time. See if your parents will let you go." And they were like, "Oh yeah," and then we went up to
it was
on the train.
It was in comics you could buy in the news agencies. How I found it out when I first started. So I mean, when I first started, my dad took me to UCAC and dropped me off in his car, and then he parked up and went, I don't know, to the pub for fucking 8 hours or something, you know. And I went in and wandered around not knowing anyone, you know, as I'd say 12 or something like that, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like a real eye-opener to me because I'd never really been anywhere other than a couple of Westminster comic marts where you could buy loads of comics and stuff. And
there's a lot. There's so much to be said for something that certainly none of our listeners will experience very rarely, and we won't anymore. The real joy of the unknown. Walking into that. Even though I can't tell you who tabled there or what was there. A lot of it was like, you know, this Bristol that I'm talking about.
There was very little. I mean, we're going to probably talk about this on a future show, but there was very little small press back then.
And totally, and a lot of these indie artists were working with 2000 AD and things like that, but just walking in and just having a vast amount of comics there. And when I say a vast amount of comics, it's nothing compared to like all these long boxes you'll see in an MCM or a comic mart or things like that. But to go from there's probably an X-Force and an Amazing Spider-Man News Agent, and then all of a sudden you've got loads of comics. It was an explode. That it was like, oh wow, why can't this happen every week?
All the time,
but then like.
I think at that point,
probably 10 years after that. That was the one I went to. It wasn't available.
I mean, if I was at my first mart when I was 12, my first convention when I was 12, if I went to Thought Bubble, there's very little I would want to buy there.
I'd agree. Yeah, I don't think I would have got much. I would want to see touchstones. I know, but it's such a different landscape now, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I was a 12-year-old now, I'd be into all sorts of manga, wouldn't I suppose?
Well, yeah.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, that's also because over these years, there's been the rise of, like, as we've talked about, like these independent comics that look, and for some part, a lot of them are better than what the main two are putting out. But all we knew were like Marvel and DC, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. I bought a couple of small press comics when I went to that UCAC, and I can remember they were black and white. It was a guy printed them out on A3 and he'd stapled them in the middle.
Yeah.
So they were A4 fold over, and I started looking at them on the train, and my mate's dad noticed they were a bit racy, and he said, "Dan, check for your mum and dad, they were all right having them," and I didn't. So.
Made him the man he is today.
I mean, I think there was literal shagging in it. So
I love a bit of literal.
Yeah,
literal shagging.
But but even then, I've never like with the big names of comics and stuff. I guess like it was like, oh, I could queue up for a signature or like things like that, or I could look over this long box for a bit longer. And I always chose the comics.
Oh mate, I was there for 8 hours. I did fucking both, man. I looked at every single comic. And
to be fair though, like fucking Bob Layton could have walked past me at that show, and I wouldn't know who he was.
Yeah.
I just you didn't know. Like the creators for me were quite anonymous. Like you get the people who make the comics, but I couldn't really tell you what they look like. So
So
I
know. I mean, the other shot of it for me is I think there should have been more back issues at Thought Bubble.
Yeah. What did you? If we go on, when we on to that, what did you really like about Thought Bubble, and what would you rather they took a look at.
I like the layout and everything. I thought that's fine.
Yeah,
I thought it
great.
worked. I think there was a couple of people critical before it, but I think that shut them up.
Yeah,
I think that was fine.
Yeah.
I like the social.
Yeah, I mean, like the people like running around and like having to, because they did have to run around and do a lot of work, like when people cancelling or whatever, and certainly like people notifying us, if they don't turn up, just have the table. Do you know what I mean?
Leave it an hour, then you got the table.
Yeah. You know, it's so much hard work for, you know, how many hundreds of tables? Fucking.
I don't know.
Just boggles my mind.
Can I ask a question then? When I obviously, me and Dan downloaded our passport, you know, our COVID passport thing.
Yeah.
In the car on the way up. Did you two show yours?
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't. I tried to show my phone to a couple of people, and they just sort of waved me in.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought I'd been in already then.
Yeah, once you got your band, you were supposed to have done it. So where I'd got R2T, they were presumed would.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
We had, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, we were fine. We'd done the right thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And certainly we've done all our tests and stuff as well. Hope all you people that thought, but we've done the same, being sensible.
Yeah.
I liked seeing some of the guests there. I have to say, I think of mine and Nick Brokenshire and a couple of other people who came around and had a chat.
Yeah,
that
fantastic.
was great. Some of the other guests I didn't see at all, and I walked around the whole place. I just guessed they had their heads
To
down.
be fair, Al Ewing sort of like sloped past
and did a grunt, didn't he?
and sort of like
Yeah. It's
You went,
thinking
all
about
right.
the fuck.
You literally went, all right, Al, and you went, and then he walked off.
He was fucking moaning about the billy goats, and I was like, okay, fair enough. Going over his fucking bridge. I'll just make that joke just to make sure there's no ambiguity.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's. I mean, doing conventions is very strange now anyway, because like when you table and when you know more people, I think I'd like to go more as a punter. For a bit. I think that's kind of where I am.
When was the last time you punted, dude?
Because
we've been doing tables for years now, haven't we? And I met you.
I
you know what I mean?
fucking can't remember. I can't remember now. I think it was.
Don't you think you'd be lost as a punter?
No,
I feel like I'd be lost. I'd walk around like a thought bubble.
I
could go around for a couple of hours, and that'd be it for me.
I would be in fucking hog's heaven, because as a punter, I could walk around, I could take time, look at things. Obviously, spend far too much money and no doubt be in serious financial debt. But there would be less stresses about being back at the table, or like, you know, if I saw someone I knew, I could have a chat with them. I could have a catch up, as well as like with this show and stuff. We try to get some audio and stuff as well, and you know, there's, as well as having the table and shifting our books and catching up with people we know. There's so many variables to us having a table at a convention that it becomes. I mean, they're always enjoyable, but it's a different experience if you're going just as a punter.
Do you know what I like doing as a punter? I like buying comics and then going away and having a coffee and reading them and coming back. That's what I love doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I really enjoyed when we did the comic mart a couple of years ago is, you know, obviously I caught the bus up, caught up with you guys, had a day of buying comics, came back, and I had like 2-3 hours on the bus, and I was just reading comics. And I was just like,
in Hog's Heaven.
I'm in fucking Hog's Heaven here. You know, it's like, Doomlord. I haven't read Doomlord for ages.
But that was good because we sat outside having a coffee going through what each of us had bought, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
I suppose that was the last time you were a punter, technically, isn't it? I suppose. You know, it's still a comic event, isn't it?
Yeah.
We could have. You can table at it as a small press person. People do occasionally.
I think it will be certainly interesting. I mean, for instance, if I ever go to an MCM, I'm going as a punter next.
Yeah.
You know, just to buy some absolute.
But
tat.
like for me, like I'm not going. If I went to, I'm not going to see like all the stalls that are selling fucking.
Yeah, because this is the other thing, isn't it? It's the.
I'm not
the
going to
amount
see the
that were
people
there.
doing the TV stuff. I'm not particularly interested in that. But
But that's the point you
raised.
raised, Dan, didn't you, about the tat that was being sold at the Thought Bubble.
Yeah, I kind of. I was a bit sort of like. I thought there should be a quota on like tables there having to sell comics, because there seemed to be loads of tables there that had zero connection with comics. I know I bought that sign ironically about like fuck macho bullshit forever, but like I was like, why is this guy here? Because it's not. It felt like more he was like a zine fair, and fair play if there wants to be a zine fair, but like this is a Comic Con, and I don't think it's
got that zine feel about it now, isn't it? Much more than when I went 10 years ago or something, I suppose. Yeah, I think so.
But for me, that's the wrong direction. It's the wrong. It should be more commercial, more of a comic convention, and not.
It should be for everyone who's into comics. That's the way I say. We talked about this with Chloe, didn't we? I think if you're a comic collector, or if you're a comic artist, or you buy original art, or you make your own comics, or you're just a fan of, then it should be for everyone into comics.
It should flip to navel gazing of like the audience that seems to shrink and not welcome in more people. That's what I said. And I don't know. I was a lot of stores there which I was sort of selling prints, and we know comic creators that would have had comics on their table that got knocked back from going. And it's like, well, why did these people get picked over them when they're not selling comics? I mean, I can understand a certain percentage of the stalls, like those stalls selling the big like movie prints and stuff like that. That's fair play. Like people are interested in and want to buy them. But when you're looking at the smaller press creators and they're doing those kind of art prints and stuff, which the audience to them seems didn't seem right. I don't know. Maybe it was.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, we're at Comic Con. It's not outrageous for me to think we're going to get comics.
When it comes to things like that, I just worry that I've overlooked an amazing comic that was nestled in between some prints. With their
high walls, prints with the high built walls. Yeah.
And in between them, there's an amazing comic creator who's because also a lot of the comic creators are very introverted. They're very shy, very quiet, and like understandably so.
And the extroverted ones, I don't want to make eye contact with, so I kind of miss the ones between. There's a bit of that going on. Yeah.
Case in point, there was a stall that was selling dice made out of like gemstones and stuff, and it's like that's fine. Like I'm sure someone really likes that, but. What's that got to do with?
Yeah, if you're doing that, but you're selling like, for example, a comic about Dungeons and Dragons, and you got some dice table, fine by me. It's almost like part of your thing, but don't just go there and sell. It's like fucking selling drinking horns or something, isn't it? Like,
it just moves from kind of like maybe someone's rolling their eyes thinking, fucking going on about comics and stuff. But like I said, it's not unreasonable. We're at a comic convention.
We're a comics podcast as well.
Yeah. And if you got the half hour in or hour in, think, that fucking. Still going on about it. It's like check yourself because you haven't pressed stop. But you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just kind of feel like it should just be more comic stuff there and less.
And I also wonder like how many great comics there may have been where the creators just didn't turn up.
Yeah, there was quite a few not turning up, weren't there? Yeah,
which I thought I thought was a shame for the organisers, to do that because. I think there were some last minutes. I mean, it's fair enough if you have any issues or if you're unwell or COVID rears its head, then naturally.
I mean, that was
things have to be cancelled. But some people
did cast a long shadow.
Yeah, I think some people just didn't turn up, did they? It's like,
okay.
Well, yeah, why?
A bit naughty that.
And I think what's important as well is the feedback forms have come through, and whilst you are listening to us moan, you will get your chance to give feedback as well.
Yeah,
whether you're just a visitor or a tabler, as I understand it, you can feedback. So do that as well. I think it's important.
You have a moan. Don't just listen to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's down to you. Either say what you like. We've said what we liked and what we didn't like. And that's the.
Do say what you do like, because then that'll be kept, and try and mention what you don't think right, because that might be
reconsidered.
There was lots of stuff I wish I had the time to sit and chat to creators and discover some more stuff. I would have spent more money, so it's probably a good thing that I didn't get a chance.
There's a couple of halls I didn't really walk down a couple of aisles because I was just too busy.
And I was just
we bandy that idea around a lot, but like a stand or a stall that just had all the comics that are on show and what table they were on, so you could look at them all and just think, oh yeah, that looks good, because you might not have caught your eye as you're walking around. I'm not sure how that'd work in practice.
Yeah, and would all the small press comply with it? And,
Yeah. There was
bit of a
so
nightmare.
many. I got lost a couple of times. You know what I mean? I was
totally.
wandering around going, right, I'm looking for the table of. Oh fuck! I looked it on the map and it's where are they again? Yeah.
I think that I did when you said like the last hour on the last day or the first day, all the creators in one hall go into the other hall and vice versa for like half an hour each. That would be great because then you could actually get to speak to the other creators about like loads of people in around.
Yeah, do what Elcaf does and have the party in the hall, you know. But then again, I want the fucking fans involved. That's my problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want the fans involved in the party as well. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What I've struggled with, I don't feel like there's an easy answer.
No.
I think that's what really eludes
there's
it.
not an easy answer on any side because
the answer is always, well, go and run your own fucking one then. Do you know what I mean? That's quite a good answer. Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking God bless anyone that does this or chooses to organise it. There's a reason why some people try doing it and then think, I can't do this anymore.
Especially if you're doing it for charity, it's something to do as well. I think that's very admirable.
So you know, but we had I mean, this aside, we had a good time and I think we were knackered.
Yeah.
But once again, I think another example of having your card reader was never more important. Never more important.
I think we've done
not enough at the horror one actually, but they were all men of a certain age and women of a certain age who tended to come in with a big roll of cash. I think at the film festival.
Yeah, so. I think it's difficult as well. Like with some sort of conventions or zine fairs or whatever. If they're marketed to a certain audience, you can just fucking laser point it. You can laser focus that.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a very broad show that's to a broad audience, because you want to try and get as many people as you can, you know, it's like a menu. If there's a menu with a million different, they do pizzas and they do pasta and they do all of this. It's like
I'd still get served last.
Well, you wouldn't get served at all. But you would look at it and go, would I rather them just do one thing really well than have all the things and not have the time to be an expert in it?
One thing about Thought Bubble, there was a good age range of creators.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see the youth coming through.
Yeah.
Where once we held that spot many moons ago, and now we're sort of like mid to end table of sort of creator age wise.
Yeah. There was certainly a.
I'm still one of the younger ones.
Yeah, still one of the younger ones.
Of course, you're the youngest host on the show. But yeah, there was a wide audience, wasn't there? There was all kinds. There was a lot of I noticed there was a couple of stands for like merch and posters and stuff. Obviously, I was a big fan of like Vice Press, who had like the big movie posters and stuff. There was another movie poster one as well, wasn't there? That huge.
There
one
was.
I remember that.
It was on the second hall on the right hand side.
Yeah, the Bruce Lee poster and stuff like that, didn't it? It seemed to be a.
That was Jock's stall.
No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Really?
I think he's part of that. He may not
he's
have
part of that because I was about to say.
They're the ones who did that poster book. That book he did, the Art of Batman, or Art of Dread, or it is that book. And that's the same company. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's some lovely posters on there. Like.
Yeah.
I tell you what I really liked was the people selling bondage clothes. They were brilliant as well. Oh, I love them.
See, like that for me, that's quite a stretch for comic stuff.
Well, not really if it's tied up.
If it'd be bondage, it'd be somehow constricted. But
there's a very thick line between pleasure and pain for me. I don't like the two to combine themselves.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let that hang there.
It's nice that little silence. I like that. Yeah.
That's like that silence. You see that geezer when he said, "Oh yeah, you can grow concrete," and the geezer he's talking to this doesn't say anything for like 20 seconds, and it's just here's
a question: You're a convention organizer, God help us, and like you're doing all these things, and someone turns up and they're essentially exhibiting something that isn't on the list of like no comics or things like that, or they're just closed or whatever. And what do you do in
have they told you that they're going to be exhibiting comics and they turn up with something else? Is that what you're saying?
It's got to be curated, hasn't it? And sort of say
if they said we're selling fucking Starblazer comics and they turn up with a load of bondage clothes, they can fuck off.
But
Yeah.
just say you did this in it. There was a committee of organisers, and you've okayed some people, and someone else has done this. But someone else has approved this table. What would you do in that? In that one, because you could say that the exhibitor isn't at fault here because they were allowed in.
Yeah.
Well, they're allowed in. It's for the convention. It's for your colleague.
Yeah,
you for not checking the map.
You'd go back
checking
and
the
check.
map. Yeah.
You'd say I had approved it. You'd go, Dan, but why did you approve these guys? And then I look and think, oh fuck me, they got no comics.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I think I'd be better organised and go through. Right, who have you approved this week? Right, what do they sell?
Yeah.
And so you're not getting a surprise on the day. But if it's a surprise on the day, then you can't cancel them. You cannot. I suppose you could say, look, mate, this is a comic convention. What have you got like studded ankle bracelets here for? It's like But a lot of people think comic conventions are just free for alls to sell all kinds of shit. Don't they? That's the problem.
And that's because comic convention has become this sort of
it has become that
catch-all term.
The MCM, it's like the geek culture, just sell anything to them because it's got a fucking Avengers logo stuff.
Comic fans are, in the most part, people with reasonably good jobs, and they're just fucking open wallets to a lot of these people, aren't they? It's just shameless fucking stretching your wallet out and nicking your money, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, which I had a mini rant on the WhatsApp yesterday.
Oh, you did? What was that about?
Oh, it's just the usual thing about about the costs of things.
What was it? You said you were going to rant about, didn't you?
Yeah, but then I got over myself. Yeah, what I mean?
Come on, let's get him angry again.
Well,
Come on, let's get
rage
angry
against the machine. Then just think, actually, the machine's just whatever. No, it's just there's so. We've said it before.
I'm looking up now and see what it was.
It's so many like comics, and this we're not just talking about conventions here. I'm not talking about conventions. I'm just going to open up the shotgun on all comics. God, it sounds like I'm about to do something really horrible.
Go for it. Come on, bring it.
But basically, what I'm going to say is this, and this is more what I'm thinking. We all know that how much work goes into them, and we know, the effort and the creation. But 95% of comics are overpriced.
Oh, mate, yeah, totally.
And I think comics are overpricing themselves into oblivion. Like, when I say comics, I mean a lot of, I'd probably say like Western comics. And we'll get onto we had a bit of a discussion about manga as well recently, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I am at a point now where I'm probably almost going to be an exclusive trade buyer. Apart from those moments where I go to a comic convention, like a thought bubble, like a wonderful thought bubble, I can walk around and I can pick up an issue and try some things out from new creators and stuff. But most of the time, comics have got it in. It is an art form. We want it to be taken seriously. But also sometimes people overvalue the product, not the art. I'm not talking about the art. The art, it can be priceless. Like I say, the amount of work that goes into it is far. If you're getting paid by the hour, you'd be fucking in the money. But the actual final product for a single issue, and I think I'm going to zone in on the single issues, rather than those OGNs or the collections and all this stuff. I think sometimes.
Let's give a number. Let's whittle you down to a number. So let's say 28 pages, color interiors, cardstock cover. It's an issue in a series. It's not a one-off. What's a reasonable price to you guys?
£3.
I was going to say £3.
Yeah. £3. I mean, it's terrible because we know what the price of printing is, and we know how almost sometimes impossible that is. How you make no money on charging that for your comics.
You got to be competitive, though, as part of it.
But it has to be competitive.
So one of those chunky little manga books, they're like £5, and that's pretty much where you buy them for like a single issue of like a Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
You don't get much change from a fiver, do you, T? I haven't bought one in months.
No.
But manga, I don't buy much.
No, for a US comic book.
Not much. Is for £3 something.
Yeah, £3. £3, £4. This is
the
one of the
DC
things,
is more expensive.
One of the things that I had a rant about was if you're doing 20 pages of content, right, and you've probably got 6 pages of ads.
Oh yeah, that's a good shout.
And these aren't small ads. These are fucking Xbox and shit like this.
Yeah.
If those big ticket ads aren't pricing down your comic so it can be cheaper and therefore more affordable and more available to a larger audience, why the fuck are you doing it?
Why the fuck you got them in there? Yeah.
Why the fucking hell? You are just making money off the people who are just buying the brand. And and it's just pointed because it ain't because the content's there anymore. The content isn't fucking there anymore. The numbers aren't supporting it. They're just not. I'd love it if they were. I'd love it if someone could turn around and say the latest fucking issue of I'm going to just not an Amazing Spider-Man because that probably does.
Fantastic Four, probably.
Fantastic Four. The latest issue of Fantastic Four sold 750,000, and it's been something like that. Tell me that and shut me the fuck up, please. But you can't because it doesn't. And and something like Fantastic Four should have.
Well, the best example of that, man, is that Moon Knight.
Yeah,
recently I showed you that night. That was just awful.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this isn't to say that these creators aren't trying, and I'm not pointing blame at that. It's just, the creators should be able to go off and create, especially if you work for a company like that, they should be able to create these comics, and then the company puts it out and says it's $3 maximum. Go for your life. And because rather than it's 20 pages of something that is fairly inconsequential because of this huge fucking arc we're doing, and it'll cost you $5. $5 for what? It's like, oh, well, you get a backstory in it. Fuck your backstory, because that normally doesn't mean anything. The back matter in the filler in Big 2 comics is, for the most part, awful. And if it's reprints, fuck your reprints. Give me a fucking collection of reprints and sell it to me, rather than sticking it in the back of a Thor issue and charging me $4 more.
I think the thing is, as well, is a lot of the reprints these days are also bending us over. So when you look at those epic collections, they're what, £32?
Yeah.
For material that has existed for 50 years. Something.
Yeah.
Why is it so much?
Yeah.
That fucking this short sighted because that will be dry at some point.
Yeah, once we've exhausted epic fucking omnibuses, artist editions, what will be next? And we'll all be going, we don't need a 5th copy of fucking Fantastic Four.
No one's going to be fucking buying the epic collection of fucking the Amazing Squirrel Girl or
yeah.
It ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
it's pricing itself out because this is, and we've said it before in the past, it's a lot of these stories are disposable mediums. If you treat it like a movie, if you treat it like a video game, if you treat it like anything, right? $5. If you think about the entertainment per minute you get on reading a comic, and you buy a DVD, that's an hour and a half. It's better value buying than some shit fucking DVD than a comic. Why would people choose comics? It's more expensive. They're getting.
Should be a mass market medium.
It should be.
It should be in news agents. Should be in supermarkets. It should be cheaper to buy. You put in your back pocket. You shut your kids up in the back of the car with, and it's just not happening.
When you said that about the adverts, that really kind of like makes you think, why the fuck why's this happening then? If they've been God, I can only imagine that those full page ads have been sold for
fucking God knows
fuck all.
Yeah.
Because you should be able to pay.
That's a failing if they're doing that.
Yeah, you should be able to kind of like carve off large portions of the cost of it through the ad. Surely,
indie creators and small press creators genuinely offer ad space up because it helps pay for the print, so therefore they can get the books made. That's just how we do it. That's where it is.
So say if I was going to print 25 copies of Vanguard book 4 or 5, whatever, and I got my local tattooist and said, "Oh, look, you have a page advert in this book, £100. You'll be in 25 copies." That fucking breaks the back of a lot of the print.
Yeah, pays for it, isn't it?
Yeah. And people say, "Oh, I don't want adverts in my comic." Well, You can.
You've got to make the fine line, innit?
Yeah, everyone will be $7 then.
Well, don't sell them then. Give them away. Do you know what I mean? If you're not interested in fucking selling your comics or making any money from them, then don't.
If I had to put a full page ad in the back of Vanguard or somewhere in Vanguard, I could sell it half price. I'd fucking do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because I want that book out in people's hands.
Exactly,
I want people reading it.
Exactly.
With all due respect, it would have to be something that I found okay.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I wouldn't put snuff videos or brazzers in the back of my
there's a line there what you're going to put in there, but like if it was an appropriate advert that the audience would find interesting, I wouldn't have any problem with it.
Yeah,
I'm quite lax with my morals, so most things would go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just don't understand it. Like, and I feel like obviously there's the other companies like Image and Dark Horse and stuff, and but
it's not just the big companies. Vince.
No.
Go to Gosh, pick something off the shelf, and it's like fucking 30 quid. I bought something in Gosh, and I will not name the person who dealt with me on the counter. They went, "You sure you want this? Have you seen how much it is?" And it was just an A4 magazine that was $29.95.
It's no
fucking hell.
There is no fucking reason for it. I honestly think comics is pricing me out of the fucking game of buying them.
And you're someone who's got a good job, and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you were a fucking student or a teenager, getting pocket money,
they ain't buying them.
No.
And if someone turns up at a comic event and they'd rather spend actually no, you're not going to get a print for £5. What am I talking about?
You can do. You get prints for £5.
Yeah, you get a print for £5.
Tell me where that table is.
Our table. Our table.
But like, they were £2 if you bought them from me. But there's these people who will buy these prints for £10 and they can frame them and hang them up on their wall, rather than a comic for £10 that they probably won't touch.
Well, even if you read it and then it's done, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, done.
I've got what it is out of it.
I
don't know.
Yeah, it's so strange. I feel like I went off on one so much. I'm not quite sure what I just spoke about.
Check. Are you wearing your Fitbit? Check your heart rate.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I was with you all the way there, Vin. You didn't say anything against it.
No, fucking hell. I don't think there's any. It'll be news to anyone even in the industry or the fans.
I'm pretty sure
you're charging too much. You went.
Yeah, you're charging too much.
And I think it's easy for a lot of some indie creators. In their glass houses to throw stones at the big two, but you've got to look at yourself.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, well, these companies, they're not creating quality comics, therefore I'm not buying them. So give me a decent alternative that I can afford. And I feel like comics hasn't gotten to the stage. We're not like, especially from the UK. We're not like France. We're not like Europe. We're not like that. This is not treated like, bande dessinée and stuff.
Yeah.
Completely different kettle of fish. The lovely hardcover books. It's a serious medium treated seriously. It's not in the UK. It's not. It's disposable medium here.
Yeah.
And if that's what it is, lean into it. If you want your work out to a lot of people to enjoy, which we all do, hopefully. Then make it available, and it might be to the point of like, well, I can't afford to print them. The internet, webcomics, they're fucking huge, and then like then
Comic
collect
House.
them.
That is the weird thing at the moment, isn't it? That we've got all these comics that are like so overpriced.
Yeah.
And let's face it, I'm going to say probably 80% of comics are overpriced, if not more. Across the board. But alternatively, everything on the internet, which a lot of the same creators are making, are fucking free.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such an odd. I mean, I know we said about the piracy, but the kind of price drives people to piracy, and I don't agree with that, but that's just fact. I mean, if the prices are going up and Joe Blogg wants to read on all the Marvel universe, there is an entitlement there without a doubt. But that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I would, as a creator, I would rather be the name that someone thinks about when they're looking at a piece of work and going, "Can you believe I only got that for like £5 or a book?" And they just I only got that for £5. rather than looking at something going, I overpay for that.
Yeah. Can I just be the old bloke in the room who says that when I started buying comics, they were 12p?
I think some
They
of
were
the early,
delivered by biplane.
the Marvel UK stuff, like the Dragon Claws stuff, that was about 30p. I think was it 45p? I can't remember. It was like ridiculously cheap. You could get like some chocolate and a chocolate and a comic,
and a cheap whore.
Yeah.
But I made the switch to jumping over to trades. A little while ago, and I only buy single issues now, literally to dip my toe in the water and to think, is this any good? And then when I see it is or isn't, I will.
I would like to say that I'm the ultimate hypocrite, and I buy untold amounts of single issues. I don't know. I hate myself for it. Yeah.
Well, also, Tony, you got absolutely, naming no names, you got absolutely done over with a sketchbook.
I did.
I cannot believe what you
I'm such a wanker for I was being too much an Englishman to go, how much? I'll buy this off you. I'll throw that in as well. Have that as well. Yeah, and it was the same price as the fucking big book I bought off this person. Yeah. How much?
Yeah, it takes me years, but like now I've realised that if I are civil and pay that price, I fucking beat myself up over it for fucking ages, thinking, oh fuck, why did this fucking say no or didn't do this? It's just. Yeah, it's horrible.
I think over the next couple of years, I mean, obviously the online debate and everyone thinking that we don't know what we're talking about. You know, we're not experts. This is just opinions, and
Well, as punters, we're experts. We're experts in our own feelings about pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But certainly, I think over the next couple of years, comics as a whole, whether it be the community or the industry, comics as we know it, has to take a good hard look at itself, because you could be the most beautiful art form in the world, but you don't want to be the orchestra on the Titanic.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I'll just leave it at that. God, that was a mic drop.
I feel like this period we're gonna be going through. We're already in it. Is this a period of hardship, and things are going to fall out and creators are going to fall off, and maybe perhaps what we're left with is a model that can weather the storm and be what we want it to be, do you know what I mean? What comes out the other side of this, it's got to be fit to survive, otherwise it won't be there.
It's going to be interesting times, and hopefully we can keep and also, if we end up being hypocrites and charging too much, let us fucking know. Let us know. Although I will say, there sometimes, like when you're at a table, and I'm sure there's creators out there who know this. When, let's face it, you've probably, you're almost throwing your work away for nothing.
Yeah,
and then when people don't take up on the offer, you're like, what the fucking hell's wrong with me?
You gotta be careful. Don't debase yourself, because I've done it where I've done a few hours freelance work and just like fire off the invoice, and then you get paid so much money for it. And I think, that took me like a tenth of the time it cost me to do an entire English issue of Vanguard. I don't get fucking anything for that. Well, apart from Patreon, which is absolutely fantastic. But do you know what I mean? It's it's nuts, fucking nuts.
Yeah. You've always
still do it though. I'd still make the fucking comic.
Yeah. Also do that. They also value your work. Obviously, it's hard work.
Yeah.
We'll put in hard work, but I think sometimes we just, if you're in it for the long game, have a long game plan.
Yeah,
as simple as that.
It's weird. I don't watch the show, but my wife was watching Graham Norton. And Will Smith, I know this is fucking seems like, where the fuck's Dan going with this?
But I'll tell you what, I'm on board, because I never know where you're going to go with things.
Will Smith was on there in his early days when he was in Fresh Prince, and he was telling an anecdote how he wanted to get into films, and he didn't want to be a film star. He wanted to be like massive film star all over the world. And he said he was in Australia, and they were opening a Planet Hollywood down there, and he met Arnie, Sly, and Bruce all there, and he went up to him and said, like, I want to be a fucking massive film star known the world over, and how do I do it? And basically Arnie said to him, like, you've got to be a politician, you've got to go everywhere, speak to everyone, like they're the number one fans, go all the way around the world and just be really nice and accommodating to people. And I think that can extend to comics.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Be a positive force and
absolutely. Yeah.
Talk to people, talk to your fans, get more fans on board, and not sort of fucking be on the internet snarking all the time.
Yeah, we're going to eat ourselves if we do that.
Yeah, because I tell you what, if you put out a good book and you're nice to people and you're cordial, people pay that forward. And the example I think about this at the moment is an example involving Dan Butcher, and that's Kat Chapman and Follow Me In. How many people have you recommended that book to?
Loads.
And loads.
You're an evangelist for it, aren't you?
Not only that, over the Thought Bubble weekend, there was quite a few people that said exactly the same thing. It's such a good book to recommend and a gateway book and stuff.
Well, watch this space for that.
A lot of this comes around because also the creator's nice and just putting out good work and and it's a good quality book. You get what you pay for, more so. I
mean, the work that's gone into that book for £15 or whatever it is just an absolute. You feel like you're ripping the creator off because there's just so much in it.
But you are an example of the marketing that is priceless, because there's nothing. It costs you nothing to have someone else recommend your work to someone else and you not know about it. Those people that come to a creator's table and just go, "Oh, I was told about this the other day by Joe Blogs," this, that, and the other.
Like if you two say a book's good, that fucking puts it right at the top of the list for me, and I will definitely check it out because it's like that's come from someone I know and trust, that I know what you like and don't. And if you say, "Oh, you will like this, Dan," I fucking get it.
This would be. We often say, "Oh, this would be up your street," when it Tone, Vince, Dan. We often say that, don't we? Yeah.
I wonder if people who listen to it can kind of judge what kind of book. Say if I said, "Oh, Vince, you'll like this," or "Tony, you'll like this," they'll think, "Well, I've got a taste similar to Tony's or Vince, and that sounds like my cup of tea too."
I think it's definitely there's definitely books that I think each of us have recommended that have appealed to,
a different.
We've all got different tastes and stuff we like. And you lovely people out there listen to this nonsense every week. Yeah. So thank you very much.
So we always try and update the show notes with stuff we recommend. So if you're interested, do check it out.
Yeah. And see, I knew there was going to be a rant. I knew we were going to.
We came on the other side.
Yeah.
Talking about recommending, that's going to come up shortly.
That's going to come up shortly, isn't it? What else have we got to talk about? Do we have any shout-outs this week?
You want to talk about Indiegogo, don't you?
Yeah, I guess we can briefly mention that. This is a story that came out this week. And Indiegogo have essentially they're going to start more closely screening their crowdfunding campaigns. And there was an initial concern that it was going to be like you remember a little while ago when they had a similar sort of position, similar thing open up with Kickstarter, but it was like to moderate the content of the comics, whether it was appealed to be on the platform or not. And people would get knocked back if they thought, well, this isn't for Kickstarter. And I think there might have been suggested that there was a political bias to that.
Okay.
That's as far as I'm going to get into that, because I do talk out my ass most of the time, but this is like taking the piss. So I'll just move on to the Indiegogo one. But essentially, they're opening up like a position. Well, I can read something in the article. Crowdfunding platform Indiegogo is changing the way it does business, shifting from an open platform where anyone can raise money for just about any purpose to a closed model where every campaign will receive a manual review before it goes live. Candidly, we've not always lived up to our backers' expectations, said Will Haynes, Vice President of Product and Customer Trust at Indiegogo. When the company launched in 2008, there were a few restrictions on would-be entrepreneurs seeking to raise money from like-minded backers. But now Haynes says that open isn't what the crowdfunding community really wants now, more than a decade later. And essentially, he goes on to say that this is not shopping, and they realize that people are backing creators and campaigns, and Indiegogo are going to have a bit more scrutiny as to what campaigns go live and don't. And they're going to do that by investigating a little bit more and seeing, have they fulfilled their campaigns in the past? What kind of content are they going to be producing? Which is fair play. I mean, if you got someone coming on saying, I want $150,000 to produce X, Y, and Z, and then they take a look at what they've done in the past, they've done nothing, they've got actually no web presence whatsoever, you think, well, maybe they might need a bit more back and forth. And they mention in the article that they'd reach out to them and try and talk to them. If obviously they're getting blanked or it's not going anywhere, they won't approve the campaign, which I think is only
I think that's
better.
right. I mean, I've backed lots on Kickstarter and the odd one on Indiegogo, in comics and elsewhere, to be fair. And the Indiegogo one seemed to take so much longer than the Kickstarter in general terms. You know, there's some people who are like spot on with Indiegogo. They're bang out. But yeah, the some of the stuff just is very lax with updates. You don't really see it for years. You know, there's all that sort of thing.
I never understood that. That's what, like with Kickstarter, because I went Kickstarter first. When they say, right, the campaign's going to finish here, and then even more so now in the last year or so, maybe even before then, like if a campaign ended at the end of October, I know that I'd be fucking getting that book within a month. The turnaround time would be bloody quick, as a rule of thumb. But with Indiegogo, it's a bit more nebulous. Like, oh, I'm going to get it then.
If at all. Two things I've never received here on Indiegogo.
So it's a bit of an odd one. But
was there a note in there as well, Dan, about we've reached out to Kickstarter, but they haven't replied or something? They were trying to make it a sort of cross
they're trying
crowdfunding.
That's it. That's right. They tried to kind of get Kickstarter on board, but they've reached out to them, but they've not had a reply, and basically build up a kind of this alliance where the crowdfunding, they can all kind of how do you describe it? Sort of curate it a little better. Yeah. And it's literally just the fact that the likelihood of them delivering the product that they're selling on the crowdfunder, because crowdfunding seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Maybe has
Indiegogo got an app?
I don't think they do, you know.
That's a big
Last
mistake.
time I checked, there's a big mistake, because the Kickstarter one is just... To be fair, I do most of my browsing for Kickstarter like on social media, or I get sent a link, or I know like someone's running one, and I go and find them on...
But it's a good one to look for updates and see how much longer you got on something. And I look at that. You know, I do favourites on there sometimes to look at the campaign. Yeah.
There is one thing I'd wish that you could do when you're doing Kickstarter, and that's switch profiles between becoming a creator and a backer. Okay. Because say if I'm running a campaign and I want to keep an eye on my messages to someone say, oh, I haven't got my comic, this hasn't happened, that hasn't happened. But at the moment, because I'm a backer and a creator, I just get all the messages, and sometimes I look to think, oh, fuck. I look and I say, oh, someone said they're releasing the new issue of their comic. And I say, oh, okay. But I want to be on customer service to make sure that when I'm sending my comics out, people are getting them. And with the messages all going into one, it makes that a bit more kind of not tricky. But do you know what I mean? Like all the communications coming through one thing. I'd rather there was a bit of a separate route. So if someone reached out with a customer service inquiry, as one of the roles you got to fill as a content creator on Kickstarter, you want to sort of be all over that. But maybe that's a small issue.
Interesting to see where that goes, actually. That'll be good. It does need a bit of a sort of shake-up. But they do make an awful lot of money on Indiegogo. Yeah, there's a lot of money being made there for comics.
Yeah. Like I said, that may be the way forward, where we kind of like you make the money before you start making the product. Or they do the variant cover stuff. That goes really well. People doing variant covers, and people will support you if you're bringing out the product. And do you think that, like, I see that at Small Press, like they're providing such a viable alternative to some of the bigger guys, because they've got like a clearer, purer voice, and it may be a bit shaky.
I think that's why we get these pros dipping their foot into Kickstarter every so often and dipping out again, don't we? Because somebody gets in their ear and goes, you only get 6% from whatever publisher. Well, Kickstarter, you'll get all the money for this. I go, oh, that sounds good. And then the pro goes off and does it, and of course it's inevitably delayed, as it is with a lot of pros on Kickstarter. But it's because somebody says somewhere you get better money, and you do get better money through funding yourself. Just that you have to sort out the reach and the audience yourself.
You got to do so much more yourself. I mean, you got to do where you say maybe you're working at Image and you're the artist, or Marvel, whatever, and you send in your completed pages, and then bang, they take care of the rest. you got to get your pages printed. You got to get it shipped out. All that has to be organised.
Yeah.
And maybe I think that's a bit of an oversight on what they get caught up with. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. We'll have to see where crowdfunding only going to get bigger and bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah. It seems to be the way to go, isn't it?
Indeedy doos.
Watch this space. Do we have any shout-outs this week, gents?
I've got fucking loads.
Yeah.
Oh, God, right.
No, I've just got two quick ones. Congratulations to Dan Mallier.
Hey,
his good lady wife, is it Lisa? On the birth of Alice.
Hey.
Wow, look at
that. Congrats, guys.
Yeah.
Go on.
I'll be hosting the questions on the 100th episode of The Lakes, which we're recording this week. So listen out for that as well. And they've got me in to ask the questions. God knows why. These on the last episode, just at the end of it, you can hear Nikki whisper, "Tony takes no prisoners, though. Why have we got him? I'm not going to take any prisoners. Watch out." They're my two. There you go.
Nice, Dan.
Shall go into mine. Right. First one of 5. We've got Our Final Halloween, issues 1 to 4. Our Final Halloween reaches its dramatic conclusion. We've got practically no time at all. When you hear this podcast, if it's going to be on Monday, the 29th of November, you're going to have about 24 hours left to back this. This has been an absolutely fantastic series with a countdown to Halloween. If you bring you up to speed on the story, this kind of tragic event happened on Halloween, and the main characters have got a year before the event reoccurs in this one house, and it's a countdown over the 4 issues to this event coming back. So on issue 4, that's going to be the showdown, as it were, where all the story finishes up. I think they do say it's the 4th and final issue of Our Halloween, so that's going to be one to watch. Back, I think you can get all 4 issues plus just back the last one on its own. We've got Plainer Jane, a modern-day story of murder, issues 4 and 5. The story of a seemingly ordinary teenage girl who becomes a brutally efficient killer for hire. That sounds awesome. So that's running now. Let's see how much time we've got on that. We've got 3 days, so you've got about 2 days to go before that one runs its course. We've got Mahoney's, issue 5. Alien invasions, super villain prison breaks, and psychotic robots. Mike Cat and the gang are back for another round at Mahoney's. And that's going great guns. You've got a good couple of weeks to do that. So we've all read Mahoney's. It's kind of feels like the small press version of Marvel, the golden age of Marvel, if you know what I mean. Big, colourful superheroes going at it. We've got Harker, the Black Hound, Part 1. DCI Harker returns with another intriguing murder mystery. So you smashed this target. You've got 2 days to back this from Monday when you listen to it. And
I've read some of this. It's good. I kept meaning to shout this out, but yeah, I remember these guys from the old days of Bristol when I used to table. Harker's quite a long-running series. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just looking through the stuff. They got some of the kind of the architectural stuff from down the coast, and the fairground where they got the Dodgems or the bumper cars in the background. That looks really nice.
Oh, cool.
So that's one to check out. And finally, last but not least, we've got Inky's Adventures, Volume 2. Volume 2 of a comedy graphic novel collecting a series of comic strips based on the promise of October 2021. Volume 1 still available from our friend Dan Harris.
Yeah.
These are absolutely great. We've seen most of these as they played out over October, didn't we? And Dan's collected them in a book.
Yeah.
I've got the first one. It's absolutely fantastic. I've sung its praise many times, and I think you should check this one out too. And that's got 17 days to go if you listen to this. So go check it out.
Good stuff, man.
And let me just see. You can get that for £3 for a digital version of that, or eight quid for a £6 for a chunky print version. So there you go.
There you go.
Free boots.
Right. Time to recommend some stuff. We got a couple lined up. Obviously, we'll probably do them a little quicker than we thought it was going to be Recommend-a-Palooza, but with half an hour.
We've gone on a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, fuck me.
So we'll be a little bit quicker with our recommends. Who would like to go first?
I've got 3. How many have you guys got?
I've got 3 kind of quick ones.
Okay. Do you want to go first, Invi?
Okay.
Oh. Sorry, go on, Dan. Sorry, mate.
No, so again, if you start because you got 3, and then we'll flip between us and then end with you, Tony, because then that'll round it up.
Okay.
But it don't matter.
So we've got 3. So you go first, V, and then you go D.
Yeah.
Okay. My first recommend was picked up at Thought Bubble by our old pal Matt Simmons. I had to pop by and pick up some of his work. If you haven't got it yet, get like Mukbang, Future Egg, and Dracula and Bastard Galaxy from him at mattsimmonscomics.bigcartel.com. But what I got from Matt was a bunch of mini zines. It was a nice little sort of wrapped collection of, I think it's A6 zines, and there are 8 in total, and they're horror. There were a couple of different packs. I went for the horror pack because I'm a horror nut, and these were zines about Alien, Hellraiser, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and Evil Dead. And what's interesting about these little zines is Matt is right-handed, and he did all of these zines with his left hand. As he, if you listen to our Thought Bubble show, we did talk about it a bit because I think I purchased off him just before I interviewed him. Actually, he injured his right hand, and he was desperate to make comics, so he just thought, right, screw it, I'm going to try making something with my left hand. And I tell you what, he can do better with his left hand than I fucking could. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever had to switch hands? Watch yourself.
Occasionally.
Watch yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes you use both.
Yeah. Feels like a stranger. But you know, never mind the drawing, but the writing as well, because this is like they're just like how many pages is it? 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's about 8-10 pages or so, little folded zines, and it's just him talking about these classic horror movie series, and how he felt about them, and retroactively when he saw them as a kid, and how he's looked at them now. But anyone who's seen Matt's work will know that he's got a wonderful sense of humour, and that is just rife in these little sort of personal sort of anecdotes about these films, where just for little moments. The Alien one, for instance, opens up, the Aliens action figure line made me think I could watch Alien when I was 11. Big fucking mistake. But it's full of like, as well as the writing, there's full of like illustrations of like scenes from the films, or when he was a kid. Tales from the Video Shop is one of the pages. It was a poster for Alien 3, and it said "The bitch is back." And there's a little picture of a kid, Matt, going, "The what is back? They can't say that, can they?" He's got one page just about Alien Resurrection, and it's a drawn picture of that, you know, that weird fucking alien amalgamation thing at the big villain at the end,
yeah,
big monster at the end.
Oh yeah, no. It's
a picture of that with just the words, "Get that shit out of my fucking face." H.R. Geiger did the best creature design, just using penis and vagina. What have you done with your life lately?
It's kind of like an albino monstrosity, that thing.
Oh, that was awful, and it had like saggy tits. It was just a real weird. It was just really...
reminded me of a couple of things that have happened in my life. I'll be honest with you.
It was like the alien from Wish.
Yeah. The thing is, all of these zines have those sort of personal moments, and because of that, I know exactly where he's coming from, and it's usually I'm like, yes, I completely agree, as well as just charming little moments like he genuinely goes through the Halloween series like. It's almost like a little bit of a critique as well, as a fan, talking about how like Season of the Witch was the blackest of the black sheep. It's weird, but you know, there's lots to like about it and things like that. But also the back of the Halloween one, it's just a picture of Donald Pleasance as Loomis going, "I shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times." And the last words are, "Ah, Loomis, you magnificent mad old bitch." If you see Matt at a show, you know, definitely pick up things like these, because you know, as well as like we love Mukbang and Future Egg and all his other works, but this is just a real, you know, it's tapped into his sort of comedic talents and stuff like that, and a real sort of speaking to the reader on their level, rather than, oh, when I watched Alien, it was more like, oh fucking hell, I've just shit my pants. that kind of thing. So I love it. These were a real joy. One of my favourite things from Thought Bubble that I picked up. These little. That's why I love about shows like that. You know, you go thinking you're gonna get like these, you know, these glossy books, and just some little A6 zines. He's printed and folded himself, and one of my favourite purchases of the weekend. Love them. So yeah, mattsimmons.bigcartel.com. Get more of his work, and if you can follow him at Sheriff Freak on Twitter, etc. But definitely check out his work. That's my one.
Cool.
Who would like to go next? Tony.
Shall I go?
Dan's next. Go on.
I've got Badgered, Chris Oldhouse and Oliver Harrood. The boys are back in town, and essentially it's got the tagline on the top: "Wind in the Willows meets the Long Good Friday."
What fucking combo!
Yeah, and once you start reading it, it really makes sense. Like kind of why those two have kind of been married up, because essentially that is the story. It's kind of like very central London. There's so many things I think, oh god, that's spot on. Like the way they've observed that, and the story starts with Toad coming out of prison for a crime which you get to find out of, and he gets picked up by Ratty and Mole and taken back to sort of driven back around the manor, and it's all kind of like Cockney gangsters. The way think of kind of like Wind in the Willows meets like Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Toad's sort of giving it the big one about like how he's back out the windows, and the Weasels, who are now like a street gang, see him, and essentially like wheels start turning, and in the end, when they get in like having this mass ruck outside the flat, Badger turns up, who in this is a World War II veteran, and he's a fucking right-hard bastard. It reminded me actually of you, Tony, I've got to say.
Oh god.
It's like he's got his ways, and like you don't fuck about with him. He's quite a dude. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A badger is my favourite animal. It is my go-to. If anyone ever says, "Do you want what kind of furry would you be?" I would say I'd be a badger.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll be a hedgehog.
So
that's
all these
I suppose it is technically furry, isn't it? It's furry underneath.
You heard it. You heard it here first.
They're all anthropomorphic. Essentially, they're like humans, basically, with like the animal head plopped on top.
Yeah.
The art style is really nice. Like there's some manga stylings in here, I would say.
Yeah.
Some of the locations are really well done. Like you think, oh yeah, we're in a South London block of flats and looking over the river and stuff. The art skills, yeah, I really like it. There's some missteps with the art and design, the way that the book's put together. I've got to say, a little ill-considered or rushed, but hopefully I'd see that maybe ironed out as they move forward. But the writer and the artist have both got a great voice, and honestly, I want to see where this goes. I might be tapping them up to see if I can get another issue of it, because I've really enjoyed it. So
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can't tell you where to buy it from though, because there's no website or anything. There's only the emails, and strangely,
where did you get it from?
I got it from Thought Bubble.
Oh right, okay.
Quite bravely, the authors, the writer and the artist, to put their emails and mobile phone numbers inside the cover.
Oh, God,
madness.
That's quite brave. Bring him up. You don't know me, but I really like your comic. What?
Yeah, I'm a badger furry. Any chance I could come and help promote your book?
Yeah. Anyone to pose, you give me a shout.
That's nothing to do with it. That's nothing to do with the comic. It's just something
nothing to do with
saying.
The comic. Yeah. Unrelated audio. Inigo V, your turn.
That's me.
Inigo T, your turn.
Thank you. So mine is Rust Belt by Sean, best last name ever, Knickerbocker. This is not Rust Belt Review. That is a separate comic, which is an anthology, which I'll probably be going to talk about in a couple of weeks. It's 1895, published by Secret Acres. The pull quote is by Charles Forsman. Rust Belt is a recording of disappointment, failure, and frustration, a depiction of life observed by way of characters that don't feel created, but rather feel as they palpably breathe and cry. Rust Belt is a genuine article, and I kind of make him right on that. Actually, the cover is, I know this is totally overused, but is Lynchian. It's a sort of a silhouette, come darkened drawing of a sort of small house with a red sky above it, and it's a really gorgeously designed cover. Actually, I think you both, I know you two guys would like it, sort of from a graphic design point of view. He's going to hate me for saying this, but it's a Lake Woebegone style collection of stories of people that live in the same town, if you see what I'm saying. But with more of a sort of slacker, modern vibe to it. The R.I.P. Kurt is about this sort of loner kid who's he has a couple of girls who are his friends, and he sort of bothers one of them about asking the other one out. And it explores, has he made the right choices? Will he take control of his life? And it's got it quickly moves into quite a sensitive tone. You begin to relate to these characters almost straight away with their sort of angst and their worries and their lives and the realism of it all. And I really like that. And what he does, Knickerbocker, is he inserts some characters reappear elsewhere in each story, but perhaps not exactly as the primary character, which is a technique that I really like. I like that he's growing this story, this community, and occasionally one character might be in it, but he won't be the main, or that she might not be the main one. Bedlam is the second one, which is about the manager of a small town supermarket, where he meets a girl from his past. I think it's a girl that he slept with on prom night, and he's stuck in this town. He's one of those guys you see, he probably could have developed and moved to a bigger city and got a job, but his father's died and his mother's got sick. And he's slowly going bald, and he works in a supermarket and he doesn't always get treated very well. And he smokes too much weed, and he has to live at home with his mum because she's not well. And it's dealt with really well. It's dealt with some really nice, sensitive pacing as well. You walk the street of these people at the same time, making them, like I said, making them both likable and unlikable at once almost, which makes them gives them this sort of realistic feel to them. Keeper is about a veteran who struck down with in a sort of PTSD loop, and it's paralleled by his life as a kid. You get a little flashback to him as a kid, and nothing is like totally laid out. Nothing's laboured, and nothing is like too on the nose. It flows really well. The longest story in it is a story called Internet Personality, and it's about one of those annoying people who puts rants on Facebook and films themselves talking about things. We says the man on the podcast. But it's actually something bigger when you get into it. It's about how well do we know each other and how well do we know ourselves, and what we do in real life and online has consequences. Do you know what I mean? I think coming out of lockdown, we don't appreciate that as much, do we? The activity that's been online is sort of in all areas. I'm not just saying in comics, but in all sort of areas of politics. And you've only got to look at the sort of dramas of anti-vax that's going on at the moment. People don't relate what they do online now to what they actually have to face consequences for in real life, and it does play with that quite well. The art is very, very competent. It's got a sort of simplistic but cartoony style, somewhere between Peanuts and Alex Robinson. I'm going to put it there somewhere. It's nicely drawn. Everyone is full of personality, not just how they're drawn, but how they speak, how they act. He's got a real grip on it. And yeah, it works lovely. I really enjoy this sort of book. For me, I really enjoy that. I like people kicking each other in the face. I like those comics a lot. I also like occasionally where you just get people who seem real and you follow their lives, and we invade their lives a bit, don't we? We get past the curtain and we see what they're thinking about when they're on their own. And I think if you can tell a story about what someone is like when they're on their own, I think it's a really important way to develop character. And he does it really well. And I really like this. If you go to Sean Knickerbocker on Instagram, you can find that. His website is Sean Knickerbocker. It's KN, SeanKnickerbocker.com, and you can buy the comics. I had to import mine from the States, sadly. So I think Strangers carry a lot of his stuff as well. He's often on the Gutter Boys podcast, and I think Sean is on the Gutter Boys Discord, so you can find him there. But yeah, I'll certainly be looking at other stuff. Rust Belt Review, there's 3 volumes of that, and they are the same size pretty much as DUI. They're that sort of size, so they look really nice. Really lovely design to them as well. So that's maybe something I'll talk about next week, but that's my first one, guys. There you go.
Nice. Okay.
Nice one, yeah.
Next up for me is Confessions of a Creature. It's a bite-sized Plan B mini-comic. This is from Nick Holmes, one of my favourite new creators from Plan B Comics. another creator I spoke to at Thought Bubble. This is the creator of like Final Girl and Hardcore Bazooka All Stars, which I've mentioned on the show before. But this is another one of his works. It's a mini comic that very much it's about the classic sort of Universal monsters in a way, and it's very much the creature of the Black Lagoon confessing, telling his tale to someone, and this is it's a short little read, but a fun little read that went into from the cover. It's got that because Nick's got that sort of like animated, cartoony sort of style, and certainly the story itself has a wonderful sort of biting humour to it, but it sort of goes into sort of fairly dark sort of territory. I mean, on the website, it sort of says it's a tale of monsters, accountability, and past we would rather forget but shouldn't. And certainly the Gill Man, as he's called, someone called him Gill Man, and he hated that one being reduced to just a set of gills. And he tells the tale of, like, you know, when he had that sort of interaction with the people from the film. You know, it's what if you've ever seen The Creature of the Black Lagoon, you know what's happening and where this is going. But he's also sat around with a couple of with like a werewolf, a Frankenstein, and a Dracula, and he's just chatting, and he has his version of the story. And then about halfway or towards the end, it twists a little bit, and you see another side to the story, which I didn't expect, because I thought, oh, you know, a jovial sort of humour comic, and it is that, but there's a darker edge to it that I really quite like, and you know, it certainly plays on the unreliable narrator in a way that's not like not super sinister in a way, but it's another tale of like someone's story of bigging themselves up when in reality maybe it wasn't like that at all. It's only through other people's accounts of things that we get the real truth. But yeah, this is great fun. Obviously, it's got some nice half-tone patterns and wonderful art, short punching. Sort of it leaves it on a poignant note as well. I don't want to spoil too much of the story because it's in the reading of it that you really get a sense of what it is. You can get planbcomics.bigcartel.com, and you can find Plan B Comics on Twitter and stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more of what Nick creates. I mean, I read Final Girl, the second issue of Final Girl as well, and that was awesome. But I thought I wanted to talk about it because I'd already talked about Final Girl. I wanted to talk about something else, and this was great. So yeah, check that one out. Right,
stuff.
Who's next?
Nice one.
See?
Me.
Yeah.
I could pick this up at the show from Thought Bubble. Vicious Creatures by Sarah Gordon. Yes. 9 Tales of Woe and a Misadventure. I'd read some of these already from Sarah, and she was an absolute pleasure to have on the episode because
definitely.
Do you remember her talking about the owl that she filled with?
Yeah, we loved that conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, in the back of the book, it's got photos of that process happening, and she drew an owl on fire in the front of my book. I said,
nice.
Baby Ben. And this book, I think it might be one of my picks of the year because I absolutely love it.
It's a beautiful book. I haven't read it. I've read, like you, Dan, I've got the other ones. I'm looking forward to reading through because she recoloured a lot of them, didn't she?
Yes. So, like, I read through some and I was like, I think I can't remember how this one ends. And when I got to it, I was like, oh, that was great. That was really good. And then the later ones, it's just an absolute joy to read through. Such a fantastic book. And when we were talking about books you could buy someone who wasn't into comics, this is one of those titles.
And I will totally agree with you there. Because Jo, obviously my better half, she's not into comics the way I'm into comics, but Vicious Creatures was the one that she was interested in looking through.
Yeah.
That was the one to pick up. Yeah.
Pick it up and read it and you're just like, you're in. And it's got such a voice and tone that feels like it's written about the people in this country. Like it feels very kind of the United Kingdom. Do you know what I mean? Like it feels very regional and like they could always be like true tales to an extent. You know, from from our sort of collective past or a collective unconscious. It's very well done.
There's genuine folk horror. There's genuine ghost stories. It's just all haunting stuff, isn't it? Really, it's
all in there, and some of them are so poignant and punchy and so well crafted. And then, like, there's that one where he as a chap meets up for society, and they go look at on a bat hunt to watch these bats, and he's being led into something tragic, and you're almost like screaming at the pages of it. Don't go, man! Like, there's so many red flags here, but you can't help but read along as he's drawn into his dark fate. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I highly recommend you get it from Sarah. Vicious Creatures.
Amazing.
Tony? Me, yeah. So mine was a book that we got sent here on digital, actually, that I decided I quite like the credit, so I decided to buy a physical copy of it. It wasn't too expensive. So it's Black Dragon by Nick Gonzo. It's got a lovely cover, actually. I like the way he does this cover, and then there's a sort of credits page as well, which look like an early 70s metal band almost, like Deep Six or who else? The sort of trippy metal bands back in the day. That sort of thing. It's got that sort of effect to it. It's lettered by Rob Jones and edits by Chloe Green. So Chloe. There's weirdly, I don't know. I know Nick likes to play fast and loose with our preconceptions of stuff. So I think a lot of this is him just playing with the reader, which I kind of admire in a creator. But you open it and you get a sort of very inside front cover is a sort of very official looking title page created by Nick Gonzo, lettering by Robin Jones. And you get I don't know, it's just this weird sort of typography page. And then you get an Ian Banks quote from Complicity, which I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what this is. It seems to me when I read those two pages, I thought this is a lot more sort of po-faced than I'm used to from Nick, And then you eventually fall into the story, which is not like that at all. It's just, I think he's just fucking about with me. But what happens is there's a mineral that's a super healer, and it's hidden, or it grows on the back of a planet-sized space dragon called the Black Dragon. And it's a really hostile environment, and there's a team of, I'm going to say weirdos, who work gathering it, pilots and engineers who are often a little bit self-obsessed, and descends on them whilst they're in the middle of arguing and getting on with their work and disagreeing with each other, is a group of number 1 and number 3 of the coolest people in the universe who are filming a reality TV show. And they sort of turn up, and it becomes this high concept sci-fi idea of mining a space dragon for a mineral that makes you live longer, to being a satire on a lot of things, actually. You then get another title page, which the art I absolutely loved, and the design of it's one of those.
Nick's leveled up with this one.
He has with this, yeah. I think he has, yeah. And it's one of those more intricately designed. When sometimes you buy metal albums, Vince, and you kind of have to sort of stare at them to work out what the letters are.
Yeah. Especially that real dark black metal stuff. That's it's all angles and thorns and.
That's it. Yeah, and it's amongst like armor or like you say, thorny trees and all this sort of thing. But he does that with this double page spread. But then plonked right on the right-hand corner is some really obtrusive credits. And I'm like, why have you just leave? I want that. That if that was a poster, it's sort of thing that a kid would have on his wall. Take that lettering off. That's just too intrusive. But yeah, so it becomes this sort of satirical commentary on a lot of things. On the power of corporations is one of them. And also it highly exaggerated pop culture figures as touch points. So there is a Fifth Element touch point on it, but it also has that fifth element feel to it. How in the Fifth Element you'd have this sort of lovely, amazing science fiction vista, and in the middle of you got that screaming bloke. What's he called? Ruby Rod. Just screaming weird stuff. And there is a Ruby Rod parallel character in this called Cleophas Randolph, and he runs a program that's a cross between something like Click on, like the sort of
the technology kind of show
with the bloke with the two well coiffed hair, and something that's on some fashion channel or something like that. It's a cross between those two sort of things. You get the news is read by Rod Mail, the keyboardist from Sparks. He clearly is the newsreader in it. And the Gary Cole character, is it Lumberg, I'm thinking, from Office Space? The one I mean, with the braces.
Yeah.
He's the HR. He gives the HR briefing, and it does spend this time lampooning the idiocy of modern internet culture in a way, and modern people who invest so heavily in pop culture that they lose sight on what they're actually meant to be doing sometimes. It's they're involving themselves like, I don't know, like almost like sort of trend-setting psychologists. It's also there's a short satire on the hypocrisy of meat eaters, which is quite funny. And I'll be honest with you, though, it felt like, I don't know what he's doing with this. Do you know, guys? Is this the first issue in a series or something? Do you know?
I don't know.
No. I don't know,
it feels like it is.
Yeah.
It feels like it's the setup issue. I'm going to say I found some structural issues with it, which I have some questions about. It may be that Nick is able to explain them. I think on for example, the second to last page, there's a page that has all the characters in it with little name tags above their heads. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure why that's so far into the book. It perhaps would have been better spaced up the front.
Does it not indicate there's going to be more to it? Or
well, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, but there's what you get in the last 4 pages is you get all the characters. They're sitting in like the HR briefing, and it's got Kathy Bill Vale, Dresch Heavy Industries. It's got their name tags with little arrows pointing down to them, which I kind of like. As a style, there's a lot of characters in this. They're all very different, but it allows you to identify them in a single go. And then there's a really funny bit actually, which I really liked, where this woman puts her hand up and she says, "Can I ask why we're always getting these health and safety talks? Why is this?" And he says, "I don't know. Maybe it's because." So the Bill Lumberg character says, "Maybe it's because if someone hadn't crashed an 18 billion credit high pressure submersible last season, we wouldn't need it, would we?" And she says, "No need to get personal." It's like immediately it's typical internet personality, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it's pointed out to you why you're getting this HR, they just swerve left to make it personal about themselves rather than actually saying, "Oh yeah, good point." It's a bit like that, isn't it? And then there's a panel at the bottom which begins with the do's and don'ts of lymphocytes. And I think, and I turn the page and that's the end of the issue. And I'm like, this has got to be leading somewhere. It feels a little bit like it could be a 0 issue, maybe.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. And then there's in the back, there's an interview with Hero Fontaine, who is the coolest person in the universe. And there's this sort of little text piece in the back about her. In general, I think it's good. I really like what Nick is doing with the themes he's introducing to it, and a lot of the dialogue. I think it's really good. I think he needs to consider the structure. The format is great. I love the fact it's color. I love the size of it and everything. I think that works. Although there is a touch of the zine about it. It's like a very well made zine to me. I'll put it that way, I suppose. He needs to concentrate a little bit on the physicality of some of the characters. They're a little bit too face on a lot of the time, but it works completely for me. And everyone is identifiable immediately. He's designed some nice characters there. Like I say, it looks like a. That was the band I was trying to think of. It looks like a Hawkwind cover when you look at it on the shelf, and it has got a cover that is immediately noticeable. I think from an iconic sort of point of view, something you're going to see as a digital thumbprint. Somewhere you're going to pick it up. Go to the Nick Gonzo I think that's him on Twitter. He's got a patreon.com, the Nick Gonzo, and on Etsy. I love these dudes who are all on Etsy. It always makes me laugh. We've got all these like outrageous sci-fi epics, like Patrick Sparrow's book about ripping heads off people, and they're all on Etsy. And the next recommended thing, do you want to buy a tea towel with a picture of your dog on? It's like that. So
yeah.
But on Etsy, he's Gonzo Industrial. So have a look for that as well. There you go. Nice work, Nick.
Nice one.
Right, one more quick one from me. This is not from Thought Bubble. This is Comixology, and I caught up on the last 2 issues of Frank Cho's Fight Girls. Have you finished this yet, Tony?
Hey.
No, I haven't read it. I haven't finished it yet. No, to be honest, I think I might buy the trade of it, actually, because I was reading it digitally.
Yeah, I'm totally going to trade on this one.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's worth it. 10 hard as nails women face off in an ancient contest of champions where the winner truly takes all, the title of Queen of the Galaxy. To win the challenge, each contestant must survive the hazards of the planet's harsh landscape, the ferocious predators on and below its surface, and their fellow contestants. Now, I caught up on the issues 4 and 5. Don't look at the covers if you don't want any spoilers.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Especially for the last issue.
Oh, okay.
Although looking back at the covers, I did notice something, which I'll talk to you chaps about offline. Yeah, this is just a great series. Frank Cho is obviously a master. He's an absolute legend in my eyes. Has been for years.
Yeah,
knows how to draw.
He's a baller.
Yeah, knows how to draw. Obviously, beautiful people across the board. Also draws great characters as well, because this is a futuristic world, so you get some strange cyberpunky type people. There's a lot more to it than just that synopsis I gave, because there's a bit of a spy story going on there as well. But there's also giant monsters. It's got the classic, Running Man, Hunger Games kind of like, those sort of tale as old as time sort of things, isn't it? Really, the contest of champions where people get picked off one by one.
People love that stuff.
Yeah, and this is just great, and it ends up to face off in a proper slobberknocker sort of fight where they're kicking the crap out of each other. I was reading Nick Guided View, and that really with the fights, it really added to it. You could, because Frank's got a mastery of the human form, and these aren't stick figures. These are athletes. When you say 10 hard as nails women, these aren't almost like paper thin figures. These are women that look like they could break you in half.
Yeah, they can snap walnuts with their thighs, can't they? These days, definitely. Yeah.
And certainly when they're punching each other, you can feel it. And plus, just a genuine sort of like the fight that they have. There's no over the top like somersaults and stuff. There's like, it's martial arts, knees to the face and punches, and yeah, it's great stuff. Plus he did a issue with great white sharks in it, so that's always going to get a thumbs up from me. But yeah, if you're going to get the trade, I'll be with you. I saw the last 2 issues, and I thought, right, I felt like I just wanted to know what the end of the story was. Do you know what I mean? Because and I think that speaks for it itself, that it left enough mysteries that, like, I want to see where this is going. I want to see who survives till the end.
Slipped under the radar a little bit, actually. I always used to think that people, Frank Cho comics were like big fucking news because he draws them so well.
Yeah. But and certainly, I think this is from AWA Studios.
Cool.
And the thing is, the covers themselves, apart from like the wonderful art on the front, they're very understated as well. Even the way it just says.
Do they fit together as like a gallery of covers? Do they? Is there
No, they don't.
I thought they might.
Yeah,
okay.
they would be like nice individual prints by themselves, and they're very there's a slight sort of Dave Johnson kind of feel to the composition of them. You've got a figure, and there's things in like boxes, like cropped images behind in a very sort of design way. But also coloured by Sabine Rich. Because the colours are beautiful on this as well. Yeah, this is just a great sci-fi fun story. When it ended, I felt like, I got a sense that there was a bigger world there, but also it's one and done. That's all you need. It felt like a great, action sci-fi VHS I just watched. Do you know what I mean? It was good. Fight Girls by Frank Cho, highly recommended. Loved it.
Good work.
Okay, have we got one more?
D.
No, that's it. Only had 2.
I got one more. Shall I do mine?
Yeah.
Okay, The Garden, written by Sean Michael Wilson, illustrated by Fumio Obata, published by Liminal, and with money from the Arts Council of Britain. It was a very kind gift from Kay Medaglia. I think I showed it to you on the last day, did I? It's a sort of
I think you did.
Lovely little mini hardback, full colour throughout. It's got that softer, muted, pastel-y tone to it in the colouring.
Yeah.
Nice, gentle. It's a nice, gentle story. Liminal, as a company, a lot of their work deals with mental well-being, and it's sort of meditation, stuff like that. And I have to say, when I started reading this, I thought, knowing Kay as I do and knowing the company as I do, I thought this is going to be lovely. It's going to be a nice one, I'm going to breathe. It's going to be meditative for me. And it certainly starts out that way, definitely does. And it opens with a girl sitting in a Japanese Zen garden, and she's sitting there meditating as the first leaves of autumn begin to fall off the trees. And she remembers back to a stressful day job she'd had where she worked in an office, and everything got too much for her one day, and she passed out and woke up in the hospital, and she had a sort of a breakdown. And when she got home, her Joanna, who's her name, she gets home, her sister turns up and reprimands her for not doing anything. She's saying, you've been home now and you're just not doing anything with your life. Why are you just sitting here moping about? So she channels her energy into creating a little oasis in the back of her house and makes it into a Japanese garden. And she gets rather caught up in this. She gets very carried away with it and decides she immediately impulsively buys a ticket to Japan and gets a train to Kyoto, where she's met by almost like it's like a well-being class, but in how to do a garden. It's a weird to say, but Japanese people are often much more learned than us, and they have this. They treat it. It's a bit like wax on, wax off for gardens. It's a bit like
a kind of a Zen, the garden.
Yeah, channel your energies into this will make you learn about this other thing over here. It's almost like that, and she does it, and she goes along with it, and she throws herself into it. And there's this interesting bit where she's asked to go and sit in a toilet. He says, "This is a toilet in the supermarket." This is the sort of the chap that I think he's a priest who is teaching her. He says, "Go and sit in there and see how long you last, and just live with yourself and be alone with your thoughts and stuff." And she lasts there quite a long time. And I thought, well, it's interesting, and it is quite a restful book, and I was really enjoying it. And then in the second half of the book, Joanne returns home and she begins to build her garden. And I have to say, from this point, I felt my resting heartbeat lift a little. And she's this old dude. I think he's called Old John. I think he's called. And he comes to help her. And she says, "Would you like a drink?" And he says, "I'll just have a, like a British tea." And she reprimands him about, "Well, actually, I think you'll find they're from India and China." And I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
What was that all about? And
that's things that no one say ever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And it's like this almost becomes a bit of a theme. And I'm like, there's almost like the writer is trying to get his frustrations out. His frustrations out about things that have happened to him in quite unrealistic dialogue. Yeah. And there's a bit where John is talking about, the stress of people who are involved in the war and stuff like that. And he says, seems to be a lot of people now are suffering from stress, and I'm not sure why. And she makes some comment back at him, and he says, "Oh, I see your point. That's true." And you're like, "What?
What? Yeah, that doesn't."
Yeah. Just totally unrealistic. And
I mean, it's weird because if you wanted to explore that point, you'd bring it up in the comic and explore it. But if you're not going to explore it, why even bother bringing it up?
Yeah, it's like
seems very odd to sort of say, "Oh, yeah."
It went from being this lovely book about building this garden, relaxation and stuff, and it was carrying me along, and I was certainly enjoying it reading on a Sunday afternoon, and became to this one where this lady has to be right and tell off this nice old bloke who's helping her in her garden for free, and I'm like, what are we doing here? What is this delusion? Everything you say is suddenly a revelation to this old bloke about where tea comes from. Like, okay,
I know you've been at war, but you don't know anything about PTSD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, fair enough. So my review will be, you really had me in the first half and you lost me in the second half. But it is a beautifully drawn book. I have to say, design-wise, it is lovely. And I really liked what they went for. And the art by Fumio Obata is lovely. It's done in that gentle way. Everyone is delineated well. You recognise everyone. I'm not sure where it's meant to be. Maybe it's meant to be in the States. It looks like it's probably meant to be in the UK from the sort of shape of housing and stuff like that. Maybe and sort of, like we kind of have different fences in gardens, don't we? You can kind of tell the backyards of houses sometimes, can't you? Not always, but yeah. So it's a bit like that. But yeah, it's a gorgeous book. It's gorgeously put together. Fumio Obata is an illustrator and animator whose style and work are influenced by both Japanese and European aesthetics. It's his. His graphic novel, Just So Happens, was published at Jonathan Cape, critically acclaimed and published in 8 languages. So, yeah, Fumio, great. John Michael Wilson is a graphic novel writer living in Scotland and Japan. His work are often on themes of history, biography, and social issues. He has had more than 20 books published. So there you go. So,
bloody hell, nice.
And nice to see Liminal doing so well. They really are becoming quite a force of indie publishing in the UK. Their other big thing being tarot cards. So there you go.
That's weird. They're big as well, aren't they? They were at Thought Bubble as well.
Yeah,
tarot
cards are definitely a big thing. Yeah.
Well, that was Kay who told me that there was more searches on TikTok for the word tarot than there are people in the world last year.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. There you go.
And this episode has been craziness. Crazy good.
Crazy good.
Yeah, crazy good, baby. And we hope you enjoyed it. All the rants, all the opinions, all the thoughts, all those fantastic books and creators that you need to check out now. We always enjoy just the three of us sitting there with a cup of coffee and just shooting the breeze. We hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything upcoming or anything you want us to know about or talk about, there's several different ways you can get in touch with us. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @theawesomepod, where we'll probably we might be putting some questions out. We've got some fun ideas in the lead up to Christmas. So stay tuned to our socials and
we're going to keep an eye peeled for that money raising thing we're going to do for the charity as well. Yeah. That's going to be lifting off, and next week I think we've got to get that fucking rolling.
Yeah. If you do Facebook, go to facebook.com/awesomecomicspodcast. Join the Facebook community group Awesome Comics Talk, where we post the latest episodes and keep the conversation going there, as well as lots of other threads. We have a Slack chat. You can join that. It's just all about comics all the time. There's different rooms talking about different subjects and art threads and all kinds of good stuff. So get in touch with us if you want to join that. And thank you for listening to us. We really, really appreciate it, taking time out to listen to us for the past couple of hours and either swearing at your iPod or whatever, or going,
disagreeing. It's fine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But whatever you are doing, thank you for listening to us, whether it was on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave a review, because it helps get the word out about the show, everything we're talking about. And who knows, maybe in the future you're comics yourselves. You never know. That's a reason to feed our fragile egos. We're also on other networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What other networks are we on, Tony?
It's the podcast for the classic album, classic of our times, Gotta Tell You, from 2000.
Okay. And for anyone...
You know it's by a favourite of ours.
I posted up a picture of Informer, Snow. What was that?
Oh, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember being in a cafe in Italy, drunk off my mind, and with some friends, and there was some kid, and he kept putting Informer on the jukebox.
That would drive you insane.
Informer, so that's me I can blame.
I like your bum bum there.
You know all the words, you two, don't you?
Only the licky bum bum. Anyway, speaking of Licky Bum Bum, where can people find us online, etc.?
Speaking of Samantha Bumper, the patreon.com/tribute press.
Dan.
You can find me. I've still got the Twitter one. I don't have to change that. You can find me on Twitter @Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com.
Okay, and you can find me on the socials @Jester Diablo. And thank you all once again for listening. Maybe you're a new listener. Welcome. It's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks. We've got some interesting and fun stuff.
Got the Mega Powers coming back.
Oh,
Total Defense.
Yes.
I'll message them today.
At the end of the year, we have an end of year quiz, which is it's fun to play.
You'll write the questions, yeah.
I'm sure one of the potential people we're going to go up against will come up with their team name from the classic WWE, WWF era.
Yeah, totally.
They're too old to remember that.
Oh, no.
You're kidding me?
No.
One of the guests is all about that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
So potentially.
I'm too old for that. I don't remember it.
They'll be like Demolition or Natural Disasters. Maybe the Legion of Doom.
LOD. Come on.
Yeah, it's got to be Legion of Doom. Oh, what a rush.
What a rush.
Anyway, Thank you for listening. Go forth, enjoy your weeks wherever you are in the world. We hope you're doing okay and healthy. It's crazy times, up and down, wherever you are in the world at the moment. So we hope you're healthy and doing okay because we all love you. Dan does. Don't you, Dan?
Yeah.
And Tony does as well. I don't let him answer because you'll just he just says that. But actually, when we're off air, he's the nicest one of us. Imagine that. So have a.
I'm going to go away and read my presents tonight. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes,
nice. Let us know what they're like. Might hear
and
about them.
And I'm going to watch Cannibal Ferox as well.
Classic.
Lovely bedtime film.
Oh, with a
gets
Horlicks.
me right in the mood.
Oh,
come here, wife.
Horlicks and Cannibal Rocks.
Here's a couple of fish hooks. Right, thank you for listening, everyone. And from Dan, Tony, and myself, have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics. Keep making those comics. And from everyone here at ACP Towers, what should they do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
See ya.
See ya.